Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and also welcome if you're new. My name is Lakna, and in this channel I love to talk about all things Vedic astrology related, and also some tarot and numerology insights. So stay tuned for a little intro thing that I've created. It's just a very small thing that took me so long to figure out, but I'm getting there. I'm improving with my technology. So yeah, this is just to sort of promote more of my business, Cosmic Compass, which I do have an Etsy website for, which is in my bio, and you will see it very soon pop up. And on my Etsy I have all of my unique offerings on there, and you know, if you're after a bit more of a personalized connection with me and like a one-to-one guidance session, I have a lot of different offerings on there. And I also have this beautiful color mandala, which is a visual representation of your Vedic birth chart, which I can customize for you to include your planetary alignment inside there. And this is like a portal of art that really visualizes what you are, like your blueprint, your essence in visual art form, in this portal of art, which you can really tap into and pull in and really align with your blueprint. So yeah, stay tuned for that. In this video I am going to be talking about the first full moon for 2025, which is happening in the sign of Gemini in the nakshatra called Punarvasu, and this is Vedic Sidereal astrology. This full moon is happening on the 13th of January. If you see me looking down, I am just looking at some notes that I've written whilst doing a deep meditation about what I feel this collective watching this video is going to be experiencing, and some of the themes that may come up for this full moon. So I just want to make sure I don't miss out on any of the insights that came through. So this full moon is happening on the 13th of Jan in Gemini. On the 29th of January we also have a new moon, which is happening in Capricorn in Shravana nakshatra. So the first insight that came to me with this is that when you look into the tarot of Gemini and Capricorn, Gemini is the Lover's card and Capricorn is the Devil card. And I really believe that these two cards are like the same energy, same spectrum. It's just that the Lover's card is on one end of the axis and the Devil is on the other end. But these two cards are both showing the energies of potential energies of Venus, because the Lovers is the number 6 and the Devil card is the number 15, which goes down to 6. 6 is the number of Venus. So this full moon, and usually with the full moon, the full moon is like the illumination point, which we're moving into now, where things are going to arise, what themes that have been hidden from our path for whatever reason will come up, will resurface, and a lot will be illuminated to us, and we get the chance to then feel, to really feel like a lot comes up during this time. We feel more emotional and we can really heal that energy, we can release it and let it go. And then we move into the new moon, which I believe always is connected to the full moon. These are cycles that everything is connected, but especially with the moon cycles, the new moon will then be sort of this new beginning that we're starting based upon what we have learnt in the previous full moon cycle. So I do think it's interesting that we have the Gemini full moon and then the Capricorn new moon later on this month on the 29th of January, which will be the Capricorn Shravana. So this energy that we're moving into on the 13th of Jan is more of the Lover's energy, and we are going to be tapping into whatever it is within us that is preventing us from being in this state, which is so beautiful. The man and the woman here in the Lover's card are naked, which symbolizes their authenticity and vulnerability and just feeling free to really be themselves and to connect on such a deep level with one another. And they are in the most authentic, loving, healing place, like they're in nature. You can't get any more real and loving than nature. Nature is literally like one big heart chakra, like it's just love. So they're in nature. There's like this mountain there with the peak, which can symbolize like that feeling of like ecstasy, like that orgasmic feeling of just like bliss, really is the energy here. And there's an angel watching over them. There's the beautiful sun shining down on them, which is just all warm, loving, bright energy. So I guess you could say this full moon wants us to reflect on whatever it is that is holding us back from being in this state and from being able to connect with others and just, connect with nature, to be true to yourself and who you are. Like, what are those barriers holding you back from those things? Because now's a chance for us to really do some shadow work and get down to whatever that is. It's interesting that we'll be moving later on into the Capricorn energy, and that will be starting a new beginning based upon this devil energy, which is also an important aspect of our reality. You can see that in this card, the man and woman are also there, but instead of being out in the nature, they're in this sort of dark place. They're chained, and they're actually comfortable in that position. And instead of the angel, there is like this devil watching down on them. And it's a bit of a darker card, and we have this opportunity moving towards the end of the month to reflect on what sort of things are holding, that we sort of keep ourselves like held back with, like, because we get to choose if we want to take off these chains. So sort of like releasing the patterns and the habits that aren't serving us, and seeing like this axis, it's the same spectrum. Like, we can't have one without the other. Like, they both exist within each and every one of us. So just this can come up, like that polarity or duality that exists in our reality, and how we sort of deal with that. You could also say that these two cards is like looking at the light and the shadow aspects of love, of everything to do with Venus and all matters of the heart, of really going after your heart's desires and what makes you happy and blissful, your desires, and what really fills you up, because there is a very light way to do that, and then there is a shadow way of doing that, where like you can see these two people, like one word that came to mind was codependency, because they're sort of chained together as well, like making sure that your relationships are healthy and freeing, and they're not like you're not like chained together. Like that would be like a karmic relationship where you're just repeating patterns, and that is sort of the shadow aspect of following your heart, when you're sort of thinking that you are doing things out of love and joy and bliss, when it's actually like toxic behavioral patterns that you keep repeating, and that actually doesn't lift your soul up on a longer term level. Like, it just sort of keeps you in this state that isn't serving you. So yeah, that's going to come up this month of January. And one last thing with these two cards is that I remember these themes coming up in July 2024, and I spoke about them. So I don't know if you remember what happened with you in July 2024, but similar themes may resurface at the time of January. And I say this especially because this full moon is happening in the nakshatra called Punarvasu, which is all about things repeating, resurfacing, and for us to revisit, to reflect, and to repeat, so we can really change those cycles. So yeah, pay attention to that. Another spectrum that we are working on balancing out at the time of this full moon is the axes of Gemini and versus Sagittarius. These are two zodiac signs on that same spectrum, but on opposite ends. And I say this because we had the previous new moon on the 30th of December in Sagittarius in Purvashada Nakshatra. So then now moving into the full moon in Gemini, yeah, there is this axis. And I do see these two signs, even though they are on opposite ends, I see them as quite similar. And they're both very fun, very social, very free, very optimistic usually. But there are some differences that I have written down. So Gemini is more about short-term stuff, like short-term knowledge, short-term studies, short-term travels. Sagittarius is a bit more about long-term studies, long-term travels as well. Sagittarius is a bit more spiritual, a bit more to do with religion and your faith. And then Gemini is a bit more intellectual, more to do with reading, writing, social media, communication. Sagittarius is very much about truth and is a knowledge seeker. Gemini is a lot more to do with connections and friendships. And I'd say Sagittarius is a bit more to do with independence. Sagittarius is a fire sign, which is a lot to do with passion, aggression, action, your drive, it's very transformational energy, very courageous energy. Gemini is an air sign, which is a lot more to do with your mind and the way we communicate, and it's very objective information and like discerning that. It's a very fast-moving sign, very analytical and very sharp. So both are freedom-seeking, curious, like to travel. They're both mutable signs, so it's about being really adaptable, going with the flow, being really open to change. Both are teachers to one another. I have written down that the teacher learns just as much from the student as the student does from the teacher, and I've written that down because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which I see more as the student, and Punarvasu is ruled by Jupiter, and also Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So there is this energy of Jupiter versus Mercury. Mercury is to do with our intellect and knowledge, whereas Jupiter is kind of like the wisdom and the discernment and the truth and the faith. So you could say that Jupiter is a bit deeper, and you could say that Mercury is more like the student in that way, when you think about the fact that Jupiter is more about the wisdom that comes more through experience and really embodying and understanding and integrating the knowledge. However, I have written down that the teacher learns just as much from the student. So it is like Jupiter can learn just as much from Gemini. So Gemini can learn just as much from Sagittarius as Sagittarius does from Gemini, and yeah, vice versa. So yeah, I've got written down there is that knowledge, intellect, and information versus the truth, wisdom, and discernment. Discernment is a really big one that we need to really set our intentions for, to really pray upon, because there is so much knowledge and information right now, and it's just like crazy how much there is out there, and we have to discern what is truth. And there are so many perspectives and so many truths, and each and every one of us have different truths so as well, and we believe in different things, so you get to decide what you believe in. But we can pray upon having really good discernment so that we are really aligned with the truth of God, the truth of love and authenticity. Punarvasu means the return of the light. So there is a lot of solar energy connected to this star, and on the day of this full moon we have a powerful connection to the sun. Even though it is the moon that is fully illuminating at this time, we can really connect with that solar light energy in the daytime, and just even if it's not sunny where you live, we can still visualize, we can still set our intentions, say our prayers to both the sun and the moon, and really connect with that light that is pouring down into our own inner light. That sun energy is really connected to our inner self, our soul, and we have the chance to really cleanse and purify ourselves in order to be able to connect on such a deep level. This star is also called the star of renewal, and that renewal happens after a massive thunderstorm and destruction. I say this because this is the star that comes after Ardra, which is to do with a massive chaotic thunderstorm in our life. And when something chaotic does take place, there is so much clarity, so much wisdom, so much strength and healing that takes place, and we are purified after that. And this is that energy that we're able to tap into at the time of this full moon. So it's very powerfully healing at the time of this full moon. So I mentioned that this star has a lot to do with repetition. There is the symbol of the quiver with the arrows. So it's interesting because there is the archer with the arrow, the symbol in Sagittarius as well. So I really do feel we need to look into both Sagittarius and Gemini energies at this time to balance that out. But with Punarvasu, there is the quiver of arrows. So it is the message that you need to sort of take a few steps back as you pull that arrow in life. You have to take a few steps back in order to propel 1 billion times faster forward. With just like that arrow does, it needs to go back in order to move forward. And it is a quiver of arrows, meaning you don't hit the target the first time around, but with repetition and consistency and practice, you will get to where you want to go and you will reach your goals. And this is so true. I feel like being consistent is like one of the best pieces of advice that I've gotten in my life, is just repeating yourself and practicing and working hard and just repeating like day after day towards where you want to go, and you will be successful with whatever you want to do. So yeah, with Punarvasu there is that energy of repeating. So you have to go back, you have to revisit, rewind, then you repeat, you restart, you return back to certain events that have taken place, certain experiences, certain themes and topics, like just like you would if you were like reading a book for the second or third time, you're regaining new knowledge at the level of consciousness and awareness that you're at now. There's always new things to learn when you repeat things. And then you release, you renew yourself, and you recharge yourself, you restore your energy, and then you reclaim your sense of identity and who you are now. You reclaim your power and strength, and you heal, and you become so much stronger and wiser in who you are. So that is sort of the themes that can come up now. The nakshatra is also connected to the deity called Aditi. Aditi, the mother goddess of all the 12 sun gods. Aditi is this boundless and infinite energy connected to both heaven and earth, also super connected to the sky and the space as well as the earth. So it is, yeah, like this heavenly energy but also earth energy, which really makes me think also about the Lovers versus the Devil card, because you could see the Devil card as really connected to the Maya, the illusions that come with all of the entanglement that we experience here on earth. And you could see the Lovers card as more of the heavenly energy that is also earth energy, but more on a heavenly level. But yeah, just something to think about. An interesting thing I have noted down is that Aditi, the mother goddess, is depicted headless, so you can't see her head, and she's like in art form she's represented with her just her open body, and this represents her ability and our ability as well to love and to nourish and to, you know, boundlessly, endlessly, unconditionally love all beings, all life forms, everything that exists, to love without the intellectual reasoning that comes from your head, without thinking about it. Like, it's just through the body, like through knowing, through feeling, that is what truth is, that love. And this makes sense because this full moon is at the last degrees of Gemini, so we are really accumulating all of the wisdom of the sign of Gemini, which is quite an intellectual sign. But when you look at the tarot, the Gemini card is the Lover's card. This is real, true, unconditional, authentic love. And Punarvasu, being that last nakshatra of Gemini, really embodies that authentic love. Mars is currently retrograding in Cancer, so we are actually going back. We are revisiting Mars-related themes. Mars is to do with how we stand up for ourselves, the warrior, the protector, the defender within, and how we fight for ourselves and what we think is right, how we take action, how we, like, our drive, our motivation, our anger, our passion, our sexual energy, all of these things. We're going back to reflect on things that we need to heal. And on the 20th of January, Mars will be retrograding back into Gemini from Cancer. So we are moving into healing the themes related to Gemini, so that we can be more authentically loving towards ourselves and others, and more free in that energy of love and connection to ourselves, so that we can connect more authentically with others. So themes can slowly start coming up to do with how maybe we haven't spoken up for ourselves and used our voice and the way that we send messages to others through communication of all sorts, and healing that so that, you know, we can have really healthy boundaries. Maybe it's healing themes to do with like codependency, and really having structures in place for ourselves so that we have healthy connections with others in our life. And it all starts with having that healthy connection for yourself and having that space for yourself really listening to the inner dialogue, that way that you speak to yourself, and making sure that like if there's any conflict that you're having with yourself, like to heal that. And yeah, these are the things that are going to be coming up. Mars is currently retrograding in Cancer, so it is a bit more to do, it really is a lot more to do with our connection to our inner world. Cancer is like that subconscious inner world of ours, so we do need to reflect on if we have conflict inside of ourselves with ourselves, like it's time to heal that. So this energy of Punarvasu, of going back to revisit, to repeat, to reflect, so that we can renew and like really heal whatever is going on within us internally. It's a lot to do with the Mars retrograde, and it's a lot to do with both Cancer and Gemini, because Mars is retrograding in Cancer and then moving into Gemini. And Punarvasu is a nakshatra that is in between Gemini, the last degrees of Gemini, and then moving into Cancer. So it does contain both of these energies. I do believe Punarvasu does better in Cancer because of its ability to, instead of over intellectualizing, to just really trust the emotional feelings that come up and the instincts, and to have faith and go with that. I feel like Jupiter does better in that way. So that is something to reflect on, like are we over intellectualizing our feelings and our emotions, and are we maybe judging ourselves, criticizing ourselves? Like really reflect on that. This is the time to do that shadow work, to be like, you know, we want to be our best friends, like we want to be connected to ourselves, like this man and woman, and balancing our masculine and feminine energy within. We don't want to be like this within, like trapped and like repeating these negative self-talk and self-beliefs, and like being our own worst enemy, because all of the sort of conflict that we attract in our outer world that may come up at the time of this full moon, because the full moon does illuminate everything and sort of amplify the things going on. It's just to show us what is going on internally. So yeah, I hope that you have the chance to really reflect on that. I do feel like this theme of shadow work is really powerful right now. I don't know if it's just for me, but I feel like this collective, like we are tapped into some real powerful shadow work that's gonna help us unlock more gifts, more healing abilities, more like power and potential to really like live our life without being triggered, without being like negatively affected by our external reality. Like this is a time for us to really reclaim and renew our strength and our power, and that is through connecting to that powerful solar energy and remembering that that solar energy exists within us, that pure light that is Punarvasu's light energy that we have the privilege of connecting with at the time of this full moon. So I hope that you all have the ability to do that and make time for yourselves to do that. Charge your crystals outside if you have any crystals and you like to do that. Like make a little ritual for yourself and really connect. Go within, meditate, journal, reflect. Yeah, do all of those things. And I will see you all in my next video, everyone. Bye.